Boann Distillery has just released 3 new whiskies, and this is the first one we're going to try.
That's right. This week we're going to tell you about the Marsala Cask single pot still Irish whiskey from the Boann Distillery. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt and I'm the whiskey nerd.
I'm Rose and I'm the whiskey noob.
And like we said, this week we're looking at the new Marsala Cask single pot still whiskey from the Boann Distillery. So we get it into the glass and I'll tell you a little more about it. Now, you're familiar with Irish single pot still whiskey, yes?
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah, so it's a style of whiskey unique to Ireland. You can only make it in Ireland. It's basically made with like a mixed mash bill. So you have to use at least 30% unmalted barley, at least 30% malted barley, and at most 5% other grains. So some distilleries go like 50-50 down the middle, some go 70-30 or 30-70. And for what Boann did, at the start, they were using like a 50-50 split when they were kind of starting off their stills.
Yeah.
But then eventually they moved into like their new core mash bill range, which is like, they did a lot of experimentation. It actually won like the world's best new make.
Yeah.
And it's
that was really good.
Yeah, and it's actually fairly complicated. So I'm just gonna refer to my notes here. So it is 50% unmalted barley, 48.5% malted barley, 1.1% oats, and 0.4% rye.
Oh my god, that's really detailed.
Yeah, and the little bit of oat, like you might not think about it, but it actually gives a nice bit of like creaminess and texture to it. And the bit of rye adds a little bit of spice to add to that like single pot still kind of natural spicy character. So it does make for a nice whiskey, but this one here is actually a blend of that 50-50 pot still, malted and unmalted, and this new kind of core range.
Oh,
so while these whiskies are core and they're going to stay on the line forever, over time the blend is going to include more and more of that kind of modified mash bill.
So it'll be like a journey as it goes along.
Yeah, so it will change over time, and they've said that they're open to feedback.
Okay.
And they're open to like people saying, oh, actually we liked the old version, so they might go back to a bit of 50-50. And they're open to feedback because this is going to be a core product, but it's not fixed.
Okay.
It will evolve over time.
So take some notes while you're drinking it so you can figure out which one you like best and then let Boann know.
Yeah, and the bottle I think though is actually really cool. I know it's what's inside that counts.
Yeah, but I really like the design. If I saw this bottle just by itself, I would get it. Like, it's hard to describe. I hope you can see it, but there's like designs within the glass. It's like flowing. Wasn't it having to do with the grain type?
So if you look at it, I might put a close-up picture of it up there so you can see, but it's like, it could look like waves of water, it could look like fire, it could look like a field of grain. So it's kind of like, I guess, artistic or whatever.
Yeah.
The bottles we'll be reviewing all 3 of the new whiskies, but they all are the same kind of bottle, but the labels are just slightly different between them, just to show what they're different.
Also, on the bottom is Ogham.
Yeah, so Ogham is like the traditional Irish like alphabet.
Yeah.
And it says around the outside Boann Distiller. It doesn't say distillery, because there's no like Y in Ogham.
Yeah.
There's no Z or X or K, I think, as well.
Okay.
But yeah, so it just says Boann Distiller.
But we all know what it means.
We all know what it means. But after all, it isn't what's inside that counts.
Yes.
And as to what's actually inside the bottle, well, like I said, it's a single pot still Irish whiskey. It comes in at 47% alcohol by volume.
Okay, so very close to my favorite 46.
Yeah, it's like between 46, 48, you get a nice flavour. You don't have to chill. Like this is not chill filtered. It's natural colour, and it's at 47%. They could have gone 46, but the founder of the distillery, Pat, he was born in 1947.
Oh yeah.
And I think there's 7 family members, so they said 47. Just
not sure.
And it's a little bit different than a lot of distilleries are coming out at like 46%, so you get that kind of thing.
But now there's a story behind it.
Yeah, there's a bit of a story behind it. It spent 2.5 years in bourbon casks before being sent to a Sicilian Marsala cask for about a year and a bit. So it's about 3.5 years old. Okay. Again, they said as the blend changes and goes on, then it might get a little bit older. They might introduce some older stock into it. You might have some like 4-year-old whiskey being blended with like 3.5, and then 5-year-old with some 4. But it'll change as time goes on. But right now it's about 3.5 years old, with about 1.5 years in the Marsala wine casks. Okay. And one thing to say about this one, they did note that the casks they were having to play with, because you love the Mosaic Marsala.
I do love the Mosaic Marsala.
So when they were still aging their own whiskey, the Boann Distillery came out with the Whistler range.
Yeah.
And they're single grain aged in the Marsala wine casks you really liked, but they said the casks that were used for this one something about them. They weren't as fruity, they weren't as rich. Yeah, so like they might have been charred for slightly longer, slightly less.
It happens.
Something different in the casks they use for this, so it's slightly less fruity, but again, it might change over time.
Okay.
But I think that's enough talking.
Let's try it.
Let's go in for it. Let's go in for the nose. Cheers. Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Cheers.
I think like there's a sweetness to it. Like a I always want to say caramel, but like obviously.
Yeah.
But there's like a thick sauce.
Yeah, I was thinking like it's almost like honeyed. Like almost like a thick kind of honey. Like you get that caramel, but like almost that kind of honeyed in there too.
Yeah, honey is thicker.
Yeah, but like it's like because pasta whiskey, you get this. It's kind of like oily. It's kind of heavy, and you get this like oily character to it, like a thick character to it.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense because you get the sweetness with that thickness, viscosity. High viscosity.
It's fairly viscous, like the legs are going on it. But yeah, there's a fair bit of spice. I will say again, it's not super fruity. I'm getting like oak spice and kind of that's why I was mentioning those casks.
Yeah, because I'm not really getting like the pie spice out of it.
The cinnamon spice. No, it's more into that like oak barrel. Yeah, like there's definitely that oak spice is there. I'm getting like a little, almost like white pepper touch of it, but like it's. I'm not getting a huge amount of like the pasta, like the cracked black pepper you might get sometimes.
See, I have trouble picking out pepper, particularly
the difference between white and black.
White pepper. Like I know when you put it in front of me, it's on my food. There's a difference, but my nose doesn't know.
Your nose doesn't know.
My nose doesn't nose.
No.
Nose.
Getting, I mean, almost as I'm saying, I'm getting like almost a little bit of green apple.
Oh yes.
Yeah, like a little bit of green apple.
It's like a slight tart.
Like slightly tart, yeah, but a little bit like green apple. I wouldn't say like a cooked green, like a fresh green apple.
Yeah, like you just
slightly tart.
kind of bite into it.
Coming through on the nose. It's fairly light. Like it's a delicate. Like you've seen, we've tried this a bit now already. It's kind of delicate. Like it's light. So I think let's go in for the palate.
Okay, let's see how it goes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Much more spicy.
Yeah.
Still sweet. Still got that caramel. Still got the honey. But like, I wouldn't say like chili pepper spicy.
Yeah.
But like spicy, very spicy forward. You got the oak spice, the pot still spice, kind of both coming forward.
Oh yeah, like I got a lot of sweetness at the very beginning. Like if I could have, it's like
it spreads out.
It spreads out. It's like the first 10-15% was sweet, and then the rest was like spice, like some strong spice. I think it's still spicy.
It's still spicy. Yeah, you get that. Like again, as I'm talking, I'm getting a little bit like that apple, maybe a little bit of orange as well.
Okay.
But more into like the spicy note of it.
Yeah.
Like I'll go in again for another sip, but like typically with a Sicilian Marsala, you'll get a bit of spice, a bit of citrus, lime, lemon, that sort of stuff. Not getting a huge amount of that. It's more on that pot still.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot more of like the pot still spicy spice. Like if I had to guess about what white pepper tastes like, I can't smell it, but if I could taste it, I think it might be more in the palate.
Letting it sit there. Yeah, I get a little bit more of that green apple, but definitely a lot more spicy. Definitely a lot more, like, it's tingly.
It is very tingle. It's a tingle that lasts.
Yeah, like that's going to go into the finish as well.
Yeah.
But like definitely not a huge amount of like the orange citrus. Maybe again that'll be the finish, but I'm getting a little bit almost like orange peel, like orange zest.
Oh, I can see
like
the
that
zest.
Kind of the tang.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of like again.
There's a tang.
There's a tang to it. Like it's not like the citrus fruit. It's like the citrus oils.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, like it's not citrus forward. It's citrus adjacent.
It's citrus adjacent. Yeah. So I think we'll go in for the finish.
Yeah.
Let's go in.
Cheers.
Okay. So again, up front you get that hit of sweetness.
Yes.
Spreads out, you get that pepperiness. You get the tang. And onto the finish, like it sits on your tongue.
Yeah, it sits not just my tongue. It coats the inside of my mouth. The whole inside of my mouth.
Yeah, but I'm getting like that tingle on my tongue. Like as if I've had like Sichuan pepper or something spicy.
Yeah.
Where you get that. Like,
yeah.
Again, it's a bit tangy. It's got that bit of orange in it there.
Mm-hmm.
And like a little bit of grains coming through, but it's not the most heavy. It's quite a delicate.
It is light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's spicy, but delicate. Like the flavors aren't. The only flavor that's really strong is that spicy flavor to me.
Like that thick oiliness, that's also sweet, was more on the nose, but not so much like traveling through, it turns into this lightness that's in there.
Yeah, and again, that might just be down to the casks. Like future versions of this might have more of that kind of Marsala fruity character. But here, in this one at least, I think it's more of the whiskey character shining through.
Oh, okay.
Of that spirit, because you definitely get that caramel up front, like the bourbon casks. But then the Marsala didn't have a huge impact, and I think that's just a thing to change on.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, of the three of the whiskeys, we've tried them all already. I think this was our least favourite.
Yes.
It's not that it's a bad whiskey, but the other ones are, I think, a bit better, a bit more interesting, a bit different.
Yeah.
But this might change over time because, again, your favourite was the Mosaic Marsala.
Yeah. What about like the finish, like in the throat? Like I felt it kind of at the top, but not like all the way down. There's no burn.
There's no burn. There's no heat. Now, 47% isn't super high, but it's also not super low.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have that heating, like, you know, with a cask strength, or some whiskies that are like at that 46, they're not. Like they're quite alcohol-y, but you can feel it. Yeah. You can't really feel it here.
Yeah, I feel like it more of like it sits with that tingly in your mouth rather than feeling anything in your throat. Yeah. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah. Now we will be reviewing all three of these, and then we'll probably do a video, maybe try and compare them against each other blind. So make sure you check back for those videos.
This is the first I'm hearing of this.
If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you're subscribed. We do whiskey reviews on Wednesdays. We do cocktail recipes featuring whiskey on Fridays, and there will be a cocktail recipe featuring this one this Friday, so make sure you check back for that. But of the three, I think this one, it's nice. So I'll try and just talk about it on its own. It's nice.
Yes.
It's nice.
Light, spicy.
Yeah.
Light and spicy.
Yeah, it's not a bad whiskey. I think it's also priced pretty fairly.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, if this had been like at €100 or something like that, no way. I think €70, like considering the tax in Ireland, it'll probably be cheaper elsewhere. The tax on alcohol is pretty high in Ireland, but €70 for a pretty decent pot still from a new distillery that doesn't have a lot of stock. I think that's fair. If they had gone higher, it probably wouldn't have been. No, but
also
I think
the bottle's really cool.
The bottle's really cool. The design's kind of cool, and then if you can try all three of them against each other, you can get the kind of
you have a Boann whiskey party.
Yeah, you can have a little kind of a core collection of the Boann stuff. I don't think they have a plan to do like an age statement whiskey yet. Okay. I think they're like building up their stock.
Well, it will take a little while, you know.
Because the oldest whiskey they have is like 4.5 or 3.5, 4.5 years old.
Yeah.
So it'll take a while. So I think they're planning on using this as like a, not a stopgap, but like a explore, see what the market like, see what their whiskey's like, and then move to an age statement in the future. Yeah, so it's a solid little whiskey. I think we're going to keep on drinking it. Yeah. And like we said, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Check back in another couple of weeks for more of these whiskies, and we will see you next time. Slán.
Bye-bye.